When Mama Oge's food joint becomes the toast of Lagos, a rival vendor discovers a secret that could destroy her empire. But at what cost? You see, Mama Oge was not just a cook, she was a legend. Every plate she served came with her laughter, her jokes, her larger than life personality. People loved her, but beneath the surface of her kind eyes and motherly warmth was a woman fiercely protective of her success. In the heart of Lagos, where the streets never sleep and the air is filled with the clamor of everyday hustle, there was a place, a special place, where people gathered not for gossip, not for business, but for the taste of something they couldn't quite explain. It wasn't a fancy restaurant, no. It was a small weathered food joint at the edge of a crowded street, and behind its modest doors was Mama Oge, the queen of jollof rice. Mama Oge's food had a power, an aroma that danced through the air and drew people like a spell. The jollof rice was redder than the evening sun. The fried plantains, so golden they could make a man forget his troubles. No one could resist. Men, women, children, even passers-by found themselves walking in, following their noses. But what they didn't know, what they couldn't know, was that this irresistible taste carried a secret, a dark, tainted secret that would unravel their lives in ways they could never imagine. Mama Oge was not just a cook, she was a legend. Every plate she served came with her laughter, her jokes, her larger than life personality. People loved her. But beneath the surface of her kind eyes and motherly warmth was a woman fiercely protective of her success. And she had a secret ingredient she guarded with her life. It wasn't in the pepper or the tomatoes or the seasoning cubes. No, her secret ingredient came from a small pouch of powder. Powder given to her by someone who didn't sell spices, but charms. Sprinkle just a little in their food. It will make them come back again and again. But be warned, every gift has a cost. The herbalist voice echoing in her ear. Mama Oge nods, pocketing the pouch without hesitation. She didn't care about the cost. She was too hungry for success, too determined to outshine her rivals. Nearby was a small stall owned by Adanna, a younger food vendor. Her stall was always almost empty, save for a few loyal customers. Adanna had been in the food business for years. She worked hard, cooked well, and treated her customers like family. But no matter how much effort she put in, her stall never thrived like Mama Oge's. It wasn't fair, and Adanna knew deep in her gut that something wasn't right. One evening, Adanna pacing in her small kitchen and frustrated. How can one woman's food be so good, better than everyone else's? It's not normal, she said to herself. And so, Adanna decided to investigate, and what she found would shake the entire neighborhood. Adanna sneaks behind Mama Oje's house with a flashlight. The air is thick with the smell of rot. She finds a shack, its walls patched with old tin sheets. She hesitated, covering her nose, before pushing the door open. The smell hit her first, like a punch to the stomach. She gagged, holding her breath as she stepped inside. What she saw next made her blood run cold. It wasn't a kitchen, it was a dumping ground, a place where filth and decay thrived. And yet, this was where Mama Oge's secret began. Adanna's flashlight falls on a box in the corner. She opens it, finding packets of the same powdered charm. The powder, the secret ingredient. Adanna didn't understand what it was, but she knew it wasn't right. She knew it wasn't natural. The next day in the market, customers at Mama Oge's joint eat happily, but a few look pale, clutching their stomachs. It started slowly, one or two people falling ill after eating Mama Oge's food, then three, then five. Soon whispers spread through the neighborhood. Was it food poisoning or something worse? A small crowd outside Mama Oge's joint. People argue loudly. Her food made my son sick, said the first customer. Stop lying. Mama Oge's food is the best in this market. You're just jealous. Another customer replied. The community was divided. Some swore by Mama Oge's food, calling it a blessing. Others began to suspect there was more to her success than good cooking. That afternoon, Adanna storms into the market holding her phone. She has photos of the filthy shack and the packets of charm powder. Adanna couldn't stay silent any longer. She had proof. She had to expose Mama Oge for what she was. She began yelling, People, listen to me. Mama Oge is feeding you poison. Look at this. She waves her phone, showing the photos. She uses charms to control you, and her kitchen is a filthy shack full of rats. The crowd erupts into chaos. Mama Oge steps out, her face a mixture of anger and fear. Lies! Lies! She's jealous because my food is better than hers. The crowd didn't know who to believe, but as the argument grew louder, a strange figure appeared at the edge of the market. The man who held the key to Mama Oge's success and possibly the cause of the strange illnesses had arrived. His presence sent a shiver through the crowd. No one knew his name, but they knew what he was. A herbalist, a man of charms, power, and secrets. The herbalist stops in the middle of the crowd, directly between Mama Ogi and Adanna. His voice is deep and deliberate. Do you think the truth is so simple that pointing fingers will solve your pain? He looks at Adanna, then turns to Mama Oge. You both play with fire, and yet neither of you understands its cost. Mama Oge's face drains of color. She steps back, clutching the edge of her table. Please, don't, don't say anything. Mama Oge stammers. What cost? Tell us the truth. What has she been feeding us? Adanna asks the herbalist. The crowd murmurs, leaning in closer. The herbalist sighs and looks, his expression unreadable. You all came here because of hunger, not for food, but for something more. Greed, desire. Mama Oge only gave you what you wanted most, a taste that could fill the emptiness in your hearts. But everything comes with a price. The crowd gasps. Some step back in fear, while others whisper angrily, What price? Tell us now. Is she poisoning us? A customer shouted. The herbalist smirks, his gaze sharp. He replied, The charm I gave her only makes the food unforgettable, but it also awakens something in the eater, something that should remain asleep. Those who consume too much will feel its curse. But don't blame me, no. I warned her of the dangers. The crowd turns to Mama Ogi, their eyes blazing with accusations. She drops to her knees, tears streaming down her face. I didn't mean for this to happen. I just wanted my food to stand out. I wanted to survive. Please forgive me. Mama Oge pleaded. Chaos erupts. Some customers hurl insults at Mama Oge, while others demand answers. A group of angry men grabs her arm, dragging her toward the filthy shack. The crowd's anger boiled over. They needed someone to blame, and Mama Oge was the perfect scapegoat. They dragged her to the source of her secret, the filthy shack behind her house. As they kick open the shack door, It reveals the rotting scraps, the rats, and the box of charms. People gasp, covering their noses in disgust. This is what we've been eating. This filth. You've cursed us, Mama Oge. The customer shouted. Mama Oge sobs, unable to defend herself. Adanna stands back, watching the scene unfold. Her expression is conflicted. But not everyone was convinced of Mama Oge's guilt. Adanna, who had started this investigation, began to question the truth. Was it really the food, or was there something darker at play? At that moment, Adanna steps forward, raising her voice to the crowd. Wait, what about him? She points at the herbalist. He gave her the charms. He's just as guilty. The crowd hesitates as they turn their attention to the herbalist, who remains calm. He chuckles softly. Ah, yes, blame the old man in the shadows. But tell me, will my punishment undo the sickness? Will it stop the curse? Hmm? Silence falls. No one knows how to respond. Suddenly the herbalist raised his staff, tapping it against the ground. There is a way to fix this, to cleanse your bodies and your souls, but it is not free. Are you willing to pay the price? The crowd murmurs anxiously, unsure of what he means. What price? What do you want from us? A customer asked. Each of you must sacrifice something precious to you. Not money, no. Something from your spirit, a memory, a dream, a piece of your heart. Only then can the curse be lifted, replied herbalist. The crowd grew in fear and confusion. Mama Oge looks up trembling. No, please, not them. Punish me instead. The herbalist turns to her, his gaze cold. You are already paying the price, Mama Oge. Your guilt will consume you until nothing remains. But the curse does not belong to you alone. It belongs to them all. Hearing his words, the crowd disperses, each person torn between anger, fear, and desperation. Some argue that the herbalist is lying, while others prepare to make the sacrifices he demands. Mama Oge sits alone in the market, her stall abandoned, her face hollow. The neighborhood was divided. Some believed the herbalist could save them. Others thought his curse was nothing more than superstition. And in the middle of it all was Mama Oge, broken, defeated, and alone. Adanna approaches Mama Oge, sitting beside her quietly. You should have told the truth from the beginning, she said. Would it have mattered? People only want what makes them happy. And I just wanted to give them that. Mama Oge whispers. As the days pass, the illnesses worsen. People begin to turn on one another, accusing neighbors of bringing bad luck or refusing to make sacrifices. Adanna tries to keep her stall open, but business slows as fear spreads. The curse didn't just make people sick, it made them suspicious, angry, desperate. And in their desperation, they began to destroy the very community they were trying to save. That night, Adanna sits alone in her small kitchen, deep in thought. Her phone lies on the table, the images of the shack and the charms still displayed. She stares at the screen, her brow furrowed. Adanna couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. The herbalist's words lingered in her mind. Why demand sacrifices? Why not simply undo the curse? There had to be another way. She looks at her ingredients, fresh tomatoes, onions, peppers. An idea sparks in her eyes. Maybe the answer isn't in magic, but in the food itself, Adanna said to herself. Early that morning, Adanna arrives at the herbalist's hut. It was dark and eerie, but she didn't hesitate. She pushes the door open, finding the herbalist sitting cross-legged, surrounded by jars of powders and charms. The herbalist looked up at Adanna. "Ah, the curious one, come to make your sacrifice, have you?" "No," Adanna answered. "I've come to ask you one thing. If this charm works through food, can it be undone the same way?" The herbalist raises an eyebrow, intrigued by her question. "Food is powerful, yes, but undoing the charm requires more than just cooking. It needs balance, purity, intention." "Then teach me. Tell me what I need to do," replied Adanna. The herbalist studied her for a long moment, then nodded. "You have courage, girl. Perhaps that will be enough." Later that day, Adanna returns to her stall, her arms full of fresh ingredients. She spends hours cooking, pouring all her skill and heart into the meal. The aroma of her food begins to fill the air, drawing people in. Adanna worked tirelessly, following the herbalist's instructions to create a meal that could cleanse the curse. She cooked with care, with love, and with a hope that this dish could heal her community. Word spreads through the neighborhood. One by one, people gather at Adanna's stall, hesitant but hopeful. Mama Oge watches from a distance, her face a mix of guilt and longing. Adanna, smiling, said to the crowd, "This is for all of us. No charms, no magic. Just food made the way it should be, with honesty and love. If you believe it can heal you, then come and eat." As the evening went by, the crowd eats, the tension easing as smiles begin to return to their faces. Children laugh, neighbors share stories. Mama Oge approaches Adanna, her hands trembling. "I don't deserve this, not after what I've done." "Everyone deserves a second chance, Mama, but only if you're willing to change," Adanna said. Mama Oge nodded, tears streaming down her face. She takes a plate of food and sits with the others. The meal didn't just heal their bodies, it healed their hearts. The curse was broken, and the community began to rebuild what had been lost. Weeks later, Mama Oge and Adanna work side by side in a small kitchen, preparing food together. Their joint stall is lively, filled with customers and laughter. Mama Oge and Adanna found a new way forward, not as rivals, but as partners. Together, they showed the neighborhood that honesty and hard work could build something far more lasting than charms and tricks. The moral lesson in this story teaches us that shortcuts, no matter how tempting, always come with a price. True success is built on integrity, not deception, and when we work together, even the deepest wounds can heal. In the end, it is love, honesty, and forgiveness that make a community strong. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the tainted aroma. We hope you enjoyed the twists, turns, and lessons in this modern African folktale. If you loved this story, don't forget to like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to our channel for more captivating tales that keep you on the edge of your seat. And remember, every story has a lesson, and every lesson is a chance to grow. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.